Rule 1 of 9. Here is Rule 1 of 9. 2 million seniors suffer through the grueling process of airport security every single year. They endure unnecessary physical strain simply because they are unaware of the modified screening rules. Liam, a 76-year-old landscape designer, stood in the sprawling terminal of Minneapolis-St. Paul, MSP. He was dreading the long security line for his Delta flight to see his grandkids in Seattle. He started the exhausting TSA dance. He balanced on one shaky leg to pull off heavy leather boots while fumbling with his belt and watch. His lower back ached. His knees popped under the sudden strain of the movement. He felt the impatient glares of business travelers checking their watches behind him. Liam thought he had to follow the same grueling drill as everyone else in line. He was wrong. Stop. Here is the fix. If you are 75 or older, the TSA allows you to keep your shoes and light jackets on during screening. You do not need to be a gymnast at the checkpoint. Just inform the agent of your age before you step into the scanner. Liam could have walked through the metal detector without the physical struggle that left him breathless. If standing for long periods is a real issue, you can also request a chair to sit in while your items are screened. These rules are designed by federal guidelines to prevent falls and speed up the process for everyone involved. While these rules are standard, agents sometimes need a gentle reminder. Politeness is your best tool here. Liam realized that speaking up was his right, not an inconvenience to others. He saved his energy for the flight instead of wasting it on a floor tile. But the security line is just the first hurdle. The gate has its own set of hidden traps. The next secret covers the fine print that can drain your wallet before you even board the plane. Rule 2 of 9. Check the terminal map before you take a single step at Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW, if you want to avoid a total travel disaster. Julian, a 42-year-old financial advisor, learned this the hard way when his connecting flight landed at Terminal A. He had exactly 25 minutes to reach the furthest gate in Terminal D for his American Airlines connection. The clock was ticking. Julian started sprinting through the crowded halls, his heavy laptop bag slapping painfully against his side. Every hallway looked identical in the fluorescent light. He was convinced he would miss his flight and lose a critical client contract. Stop. You do not have to run like a track star to make your connection. Most passengers do not realize that massive hubs like DFW offer specific assistance for these grueling transfers. If your trek is significant, you can often flag down an electric courtesy cart. You do not need a medical excuse or a special permit to ride. Simply ask a terminal agent or the cart driver politely if they have an open seat available. Julian spotted a driver near a set of elevators, hopped on, and bypassed the 3,000-foot hike in under 4 minutes. He made his gate with time to spare for a bottle of water. Reality check. These carts prioritize passengers with limited mobility and operate on a first-come, first-served basis. If the cart is full or unavailable, you are back to walking. Julian made his flight, but his stress was just beginning. Baggage, money, and the hidden fine print you usually ignore are the next big hurdles. Have you ever wondered what happens when the goodbye at the security line feels too soon? Rule 3 of 9. Elena stood in the bustling terminal of Charlotte Douglas, CLT, clutching her daughter's hand so tight her knuckles turned white. Her heart was heavy. In 20 minutes, her 10-year-old daughter would walk through security alone for her first solo flight to visit family. Elena, a 38-year-old librarian, felt overwhelmed and lonely. She dreaded that final goodbye at the entrance to the TSA line. Most parents think the journey with their child ends at the curb or the check-in counter. They settle for a rushed hug while travelers push past with heavy suitcases. Stop. It doesn't have to be that way. Elena walked up to the United Airlines check-in counter and asked a simple question. She requested a gate pass, also known as an escort pass. This allows a non-traveler to pass through security and stay with their loved one until the very last second before boarding. You do not need a ticket to get one. You just need a valid government-issued ID and a legitimate reason, such as escorting a minor or a traveler with disabilities. While not a guaranteed federal right, most airlines at CLT often allow this to ensure passenger safety and comfort. The agent checked Elena's ID, printed a special slip, and the goodbye was extended by an hour. Elena was able to sit with her daughter, buy her a snack, and watch the plane pull away from the gate. Reality check. This pass is entirely at the airline's discretion. If the airport is experiencing high security volumes, they might deny the request. You still have to follow every TSA rule, from removing your belt to the 3.4-ounce liquid limit. For Elena, the effort was worth the peace of mind. But while goodbyes are hard, losing money on hidden medical baggage fees is even worse. Rule 4 of 9. Have you ever reached the boarding gate only to be told your medical equipment counts as an extra carry-on bag? Isabella, a 31-year-old software developer from Seattle, was flying home from Denver, DEN. She was exhausted after a week-long tech conference. She carried her standard 22-inch rollerboard and a small dedicated case for her CPAP machine. Suddenly, a gate agent for a budget carrier blocked her path. The agent told her that she had 2 bags and would need to pay a $75 gate check fee for one of them immediately. Isabella felt a spike of frustration. Her heart raced as she looked at the long line of people behind her. She didn't want to cause a scene, but paying $75 for a medical necessity felt inherently wrong. Stop. Here is the fix. In the United States, Department of Transportation regulations state that most airlines cannot count assistive devices toward your carry-on limit. This includes CPAP machines, walkers, or even portable oxygen concentrators. They are essentially invisible to the fee structure. Isabella didn't reach for her credit card. Instead, she stayed calm and looked the agent in the eye. She said, "This is a medical CPAP device, and per DOT policy, medical equipment does not count against my carry-on bag limit." The agent paused. He checked his terminal screen for a moment. A few seconds later, he apologized and waved her through. No fee, no drama. Understand this. Agents handle thousands of bags a day, and mistakes happen frequently. Carrying a digital copy of the airline's contract of carriage on your phone ensures you are always prepared for these moments. Isabella made it to her seat without losing a dime. But getting the bag on the plane is only half the battle. The next secret reveals how the apps you use to buy tickets might actually be working against you. Rule 5 of 9. Data suggests that many travel apps use dynamic pricing to adjust fares based on your browsing history and even your location. This is a hidden tax on the uninformed. Lucas, a 67-year-old executive chef from Orlando, MCO, spent 3 hours hunting for a flight to see his sister in Boston. Every time he refreshed his favorite booking app, the price for the JetBlue flight jumped by $25. Lucas didn't realize that by using a third-party app, he was being flagged as a high-intent traveler who was likely to buy regardless of the price hike. These apps often hide the cheapest basic economy fares because their algorithms suggest you are looking for convenience over cost. Stop. Here is the fix. Lucas closed the app, cleared his browser cookies, and opened an incognito window. He went straight to the airline's official website instead of a middleman. Within minutes, he found a fare that was $90 cheaper than the app's best price. Many airlines also offer exclusive senior rates or web-only specials that third-party sites are simply not allowed to show. It is not necessarily a scam, but it is a sophisticated profit strategy designed to maximize revenue. While apps are great for comparing general times, they rarely offer the absolute lowest price for a specific seat. Lucas saved enough money to upgrade his rental car just by switching browser tabs. Now that you have saved money on the ticket, let's make sure the airline doesn't take advantage of you when things go wrong. What if the agent tells you the plane is full and you are staying behind? Rule 6 of 9. Don't accept that $20 meal voucher without thinking twice. If a gate agent tells you the flight is overbooked and you can't board, stop right there. Oliver, a 28-year-old photographer, was standing at a gate in Atlanta, ATL, clutching his ticket for a flight home. The screen flashed a bright red, "See Agent" message. The agent sighed and told Oliver that they were overbooked. They offered to put him on a flight 6 hours later and handed him a voucher for a sandwich. Oliver felt that familiar wave of powerlessness. He was tired and felt like just another number in a massive computer system. But he knew something most passengers ignore. In the United States, if you are bumped involuntarily, the airline may owe you significant compensation. According to DOT regulations, if the airline cannot get you to your destination within 2 hours of your original arrival time, you are entitled to 400% of your one-way fare, up to $1,550. Instead of walking away with a cheap voucher, Oliver stayed calm. He asked specifically about involuntary denied boarding compensation. The agent's tone changed instantly. They realized he understood the federal rules. Reality check. This only applies if you did not volunteer to give up your seat. If you raise your hand for that $200 flight credit, you waive your right to the much larger cash payment. Oliver didn't blink, and he walked away with a check that paid for his entire trip. That was a high-stress moment. But your journey is just beginning. Are you tired of being the last person to find space for your bag? The next rule changes the boarding game entirely. Rule 7 of 9. Charlotte stood in the pulsing heat of the crowd at Las Vegas, LAS. Her fingers white-knuckled around her phone. She looked at her ticket and saw she was assigned to boarding Group 7. The gate agent for Alaska Airlines barked out Group 1, then Group 2. Charlotte, a 45-year-old accountant, looked at the hundreds of people ahead of her. Her carry-on weighed exactly 22 pounds, and she knew the overhead bins would be full long before her turn. She felt a cold knot of dread in her stomach. If her bag didn't fit, she would be forced to check her expensive camera gear. But here is the fix most people miss. You do not have to be in a wheelchair to request priority boarding. If you have a condition that requires extra time or a calmer environment, such as severe anxiety or a hidden physical disability, you can request pre-boarding status. The Air Carrier Access Act protects this right. Charlotte walked to the desk before the process started. She spoke quietly to the agent. She explained that she had a condition that required a few extra minutes to get settled without the crowd. The agent scanned her pass and invited her to board immediately after the first-class passengers. Charlotte found her seat and stowed her bag in a completely empty cabin. This isn't about gaming the system. It is about using the tools available for those who need a more manageable start to their journey. But what if the airport itself is the source of your stress? There is a secret room waiting for you in almost every major hub. Rule 8 of 9. Have you ever felt like the airport terminal is actively trying to drain your sanity and your wallet at the same time? It is not just your imagination. Ava, a 52-year-old real estate agent, found herself trapped at Phoenix Sky Harbor, PHX, after a sudden 3-hour mechanical delay. The terminal was a storm of noise. Screaming toddlers, clattering suitcases, and blaring overhead announcements created a wall of sound. She sat on a cold metal bench, watching her phone battery drop to 3%. Every nearby airport lounge demanded a $50 day pass fee. Every cafe was packed with people paying $18 for a mediocre sandwich just to have a place to sit. It felt like a high-decibel trap. But PHX, like many major hubs, hides a sanctuary. Most travelers don't realize that airports often have reflection rooms or interfaith chapels that are 100% free to the public. These aren't just for religious services. They are open to anyone who needs to escape the sensory overload of the gate area. Ava found one tucked away near gate B15. She stepped inside, and the noise of the terminal vanished instantly. It was silent, dim, and peaceful. There were no ads, no loud announcements, and no one trying to sell her anything. She spent 20 minutes just breathing and recharging her mental energy. Reality check. These rooms are for quiet reflection, not for taking loud phone calls or eating messy meals. For a mental reset, they are invaluable. Ava walked out of that room feeling like a human being again, instead of a stressed-out passenger. Now that you have found your peace, you need to prepare for the final hurdle of the boarding process. Rule 9 of 9. Did you know that nearly 60% of domestic flights run out of overhead bin space before the final boarding group even reaches the plane? This leads to a frantic and often embarrassing scramble in the aisle. Elijah, a 29-year-old journalist flying out of San Francisco, SFO, learned this the hard way on a recent cross-country trip. He spent 10 minutes desperately wrestling his suitcase into a tiny gap 3 rows behind his assigned seat. He was sweating through his blazer, feeling every eye in the cabin on him as he blocked the flow of traffic. Stop the struggle before it starts. You can have the airline carry that heavy bag to your final destination for exactly $0. Here is the fix. When a flight is full, gate agents almost always ask for volunteers to check their bags through to their final destination. Instead of waiting for the frantic announcement when everyone is already stressed, walk up to the podium as soon as you arrive at the gate. Ask the agent if they are looking for volunteers to gate check bags. They will tag your bag for free, saving you the physical strain of the overhead bin dance and the worry of finding space. It is a standard industry practice that turns a stressful boarding process into a hands-free stroll to your seat. While not every single flight will need volunteers, on a packed, narrow-body aircraft, this works nearly every time. This is the final piece of the puzzle for your travel mastery. You now hold the keys to the terminal. You are prepared for the lines, the fees, and the stress of the sky. The airlines prefer that you stay in the dark about these rules. Hit subscribe to keep the insider's secrets coming and ensure you never overpay for a flight again.